as a scientist, what's your thought process on institutions like CSIRO being sponsored by BHP or partnered with fossil fuel type industries?
They've been sponsored by a lot of other industries before, but they also had a lot of government money. Sit! You're poor on camera.
No, it's okay. Just... It's all good.
It really worries me in some respects because their basic research won't be done anymore if they don't have government funding. It'll be all directed fund research, which is not good. I know basic research is still done in universities, but CSIRO do an awful lot of targeted research as a base and then work their way to a point of technology and stuff like that, rather than just going out and saying, this is what I want you to study and look at. And I don't see it as being a big problem as long as there's still federal money.
So what then about the recent cuts to CSIRO climate?
Yeah, well, that is very much an agenda of this government to not believe in climate control or climate change. It's more of a philosophy for them rather than a policy decision about it.
What do you mean?
Well, I think they're still stuck in the 1950s.
Yeah.
in the way of thinking that we've still got a lot of coal in the ground, we can dig it up and move it on and stuff like that, rather than thinking about what's good for the future and whether we need all these electric wires hanging up around on poles and stuff like that, whether we should be looking at in-house, especially for the country people, in-house solar with batteries and stuff like that, so we don't have to put the expensive infrastructure in where it's over the top.
Do you know much about that, as far as any country towns going off grid and that sort of stuff?
I don't know of any country towns doing that, but to me it is, well, it's sensible for places like India and stuff like that, where as we talk about the Intendi mine and stuff, sending their coal to it. I'd rather see them spending their money on solar, which is be bad, or wind or something like that, where they can actually generate it per household and not have to put in huge infrastructures, which is costly, much more costly than the...
What about the the kind of the rare earth materials that are still being used for solar, stuff like that?
You gotta, it's very hard. I mean, you've gotta mine somewhere, you've gotta do something with it. Whether you can actually use a different form of solar to generate the power, as in steam turbine type thing, where you heat the water and push it around with the solar system rather than just using solar panels and stuff like that. But it's got to be looked at in some ways of thinking about it. Rare earths are a problem, but then again, your camera's full of rare earths too.
Absolutely.
And all the cars going by, you're not going to change that. You've got to have some lifestyle, unless we go back to the 19th century.
That's what Ted Trainor's talking about from UNSW. One of his articles that was all about, going back to the Dark Ages almost, living communally on the arable land that we've already built on and concreted over, but climate friendly and almost ancient Greek sort of population friendly to a certain point,
And there's going to be an awful lot of people starving.
You could do a Ted Trainer type community, we do take towns off grid, country towns, and start bringing things back to a sense of using technology, but keeping it all kind of local. But then there's so many holes that falls down or falls over. As far as like, if you set up public transport infrastructure, where are you going to get that infrastructure? Like, you've got to sort of get this sort of stuff as well from the places that are.
The other thing is not going fully off grid, but actually still pumping the energy back into the grid rather than there's a company I watched. What was it? Must have been Catalyst a couple of weeks ago. They had an article on 3 different solar type people, and one was in Adelaide, I think. He was in Adelaide, and he was actually connected to the grid still, but and connected to the southeast electricity system, and so when they needed power, they could actually pull it out of his batteries, and he'd get paid for it.
Oh yeah.
So
nice.
So it was adding power back into the grid.
Yeah,
but
nice.
It was clean power.
Yep.
If you want to look at it that way, but
yep.
You need an awful lot of people doing that to actually support the whole thing.
Yeah.
But I mean, we've still. Well, I don't believe nuclear is the way to go, because that's just.
What about short term?
Not even short term, because it's not a short term option, because it's a long term rubbish disposal issue.
Sure.
Where they're saying it's clean and carbon clean, but it's not anything else clean. It's dirty. You only got to look at Chernobyl. It's still not livable. It's what, 20 years? It's not going to be livable for another 1,000 years, probably.
30 years?
Maybe 30 years, yeah. So, well, yeah, we're in the 1980, yeah, around 30 years. So, yeah, so I don't see that as a viable alternative until you can get some way of disposing of the rubbish easily and quickly and not sending it into space or dropping it down a great big hole. Because that space is not a viable option. In a great big hole, you've got to dig it and move. What does it do to the core when you drop it down there?
Well, yeah.
Stuff like that.
Exactly. And Stephen Hawking said the next 100 years is the most critical time for humans not killing each other, but surviving basically, and figuring it out as far as climate change and electricity and blah, before we have the technology and ability to possibly even think about going off planet.
Yeah. Well, they can't even get to Mars, really.
No. That's why he's saying 100 years before we have the technology.
Yeah.
And we've just got to just maintain the
keep the Earth
that's right.
livable.
That's right.
Well, I mean, you see all the futuristic shows on TV where they're gases and you can't live and stuff like that. It's quite funny. But I think we're not. I think we're smarter than that. I believe in human ingenuity. Once they've seen the problem, they will fix it, or at least slow it down. I suppose there's a lot to be said for the way we do things. Can we improve it? Of course we can. We can get better people into Parliament and stuff like that. Do we change it to a benevolent dictatorship? That's a very dangerous way to go.
Well, okay, why do we, firstly, you've mentioned Parliament and politics straight up, why do we have people in charge of our own decisions? Are we not smart enough to make our own decisions? As a scientist, you're pretty able and have a large and obvious ability to think, and you're not that busy that you need to give your citizen rights to a politician. You know what I mean? Like that sort of system was set up for people who were busy because they were too busy working the farm and they didn't really understand. They weren't well read. But it's different now.
Well, we still have, for a want of a better term, bogans in the society.
Sure.
That need to really think about what's going on.
But can't you and I talk to them? Can't we do what I'm doing sort of here and now and today and talking to people on the street?
Yeah, but that doesn't maintain a social livable environment. You can talk to people, they can agree with you or they can disagree with you, but they might not change the way they perceive things or change their habits.
Okay.
Where laws and society expect my right to do something is only allowed to be done by not impinging on your rights to do something. We've got to live in a sociable environment, so sitting and talking to you, I could have said no and walked off and you would have been happy. But if you aren't free to make that decision yourself, because all the rights, you sort of handcuffed me to the chair and said, no, I'm going to talk to you. That's cutting in on my right to not do it. You see what I'm saying?
I do, I can.
Yeah, you've got rights, but you've also got responsibility. So the first thing you need to teach people is their responsibilities, which gives them their rights to.
How do people take responsibility for their own actions and thoughts when they're told what to do and think?
Well, they're not told what to do and think. You're free to think what you like and basically do what you like as long as it doesn't infringe on society's roles that are norms, and the norms can be very wide and broad. I don't believe in the 1950 norms. I believe in what we're going through and where we are now.
Right.
Because all the Queen Victoria norms where everybody thought seeing ankles of women were strange, but they were going around doing whatever they like to anybody whenever they feel like it. So you've got to have respect for the other person, and with the respect you get responsibilities and you get your rights to do things the way you want to do it. It's a live and let live is sort of a philosophy, but you can't encroach on other people's lifestyles or rights or force them to be something that they're not or what's going on. I think that's what the biggest problem is, that people thought the institution was more important than some people's individual rights to a childhood or a life without fear. I think that's where, so it's individuals' problems have caused a social problem for the whole society, rather than being wrong in the institutions and stuff like that. I believe the people with the power have misused the power that they have. There are some good people at the power and use it well and stuff like that, but it's the bad egg. We're renting at the moment.
Yeah.
But I got the rights changed to LEDs.
Okay.
Because the government's giving them out free at the moment anyway. So there are things you can do. You've got community gardens daily, but a lot of the places are building these days, the new apartments that are going up. We're moving into a new apartment. Theoretically, it's supposed to be 6-star. For the environment. Now, I'm not so sure about it. It's supposed to have solar panels on the roof for the common area lodges and stuff like that. So I don't know how much of that's going to happen. Because you haven't got much control when you're waiting for somebody to build it for you. So,
that's right.
But there are.
And I mean, developers essentially aren't really.
No, they're there to make money. But I think all schools should have solar panels on their roofs.
Oh yeah.
I think that would be a better way of going than worrying about apartment blocks and stuff like that, which you've got thousands of, the ones they're going to build in Richmond are going to have thousands of people in it. You're not going to generate that much solar energy off the top of a small square footage. But each school, single story generally, you could put solar panels on there, and there's quite a square footage of when you're taking all the schools, and especially in the country. I think the country schools should have solar panels on. They'd have a lot better heating and stuff like that during the winter and stuff. But you're right, there's not much here. It's not quite a treeless environment, but it's not treeful, that's for sure.
No. And the studies show that the bigger the canopy and the bigger the tree, the more resilience to urban heat island effects you'll get.
Funny you should mention that, because living in Canberra, we were there for 30 years. When we first started,
there for 20.
Going there, you'd get very much more frosts in the 1980s. You'd get much colder, minus 10 degrees. When we left, that was a rarity to get frost. I'm sure it was because of how big expansion it has, and just the sheer tarmac effect. Because, as you know, Canberra gets a lot of sunshine during the day. The tarmac heats up. I'm sure it's changed the microclimate around a little bit, and it doesn't get the frost mornings and stuff like that it used to. They're getting rid of wood fires in Canberra, so eventually they won't be digging up all the trees to burn in people's houses that people want. So there are social responsibilities going on, and that's come from the government to a large extent. So you've got to get the right people in government, as far as I'm concerned.
Well, I guess that's why I'm here. This is why I'm talking to people. It's because I don't feel like the top-down effect is A, working, B, will do anything quickly in time for some of the massive scientifically modelled events that will occur through climate change. And I feel like we need a bottom-up effect. We need people to sort of change our own rhetoric and conversations with each other and with our own representatives of council.
I think it is happening. You're not called a greenie anymore.
Yeah, well, no, I still get called a hippie.
It's got to come both ways.
Yeah.
You can't, if you don't have a bottom, have a grassroots flow on, uprising, you won't change the minds of the people at the top. But the people at the top do make bold decisions about what's going on and stuff like that. And if you get the right people in, then I'll go back to Canberra again, because that's with their solar panel farm they're putting in down Hume and stuff like that.
No, Thawa.
They're going, and they're looking at putting in wind farms and stuff like that. And besides what Mr. Hockey says, I think the wind farms look lovely, not ugly.
Yeah.
Sign more. See you, man.
Thanks, guys. Bye.
Sign more. See ya.